Hey everyone! So today we have a mixed bag of things, including a clip from Joe Rogan. We're going to be analyzing a photo that one of you guys sent me, and then we're going to listen to Muhammad Ali tell his UFO experience. As you guys know, I like to share with you things that I find interesting, and this is one of them. On a recent episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, comedian Paul Virzi retells an amazing story about his dad's close encounter with a UFO. Let's watch.
Tell me the UFO story.
All right. Well, first, I'm going to tell you about my dad real quick. My dad is Sicilian to the fuck. He born and raised Bronx, okay? Grew up in the 1960s in the Bronx. Always has to dress nice, you know, very materialistic. A man needs a watch. A man needs shoes, okay? Me and my brother were in the car one time. My father would do this shit. We were young. He shouldn't have, but he would be like, look at that. You see that? It's a fucking disgrace. He'd be like, that's a man in a Honda, you know? And he'd be like, there's kids in that fucking car, like that.
Wow.
1982 Jaguar XJ6, black, white leather, dressed to the nines. You know, everybody's crazy but him. Fuck them, they're crazy. Fucking right. So, tells me and my brother a story. To this day, the story's not changed, and he told me he wished he never saw what he saw. 1973, my mother is pregnant with my older brother, Christian. He's 5 years older than me. Okay, so she's pregnant with him. They're outside in Yonkers. There's a little grass lot. And my aunt, grandmother, and mother are out there, and they're screaming, Tommy, you got to come out here. You got to come out here. So the way my father tells the story, he goes, I'm watching TV. What the fuck? You know, I don't want to be bothered. He goes, I go outside, and he said, Paul, he said, sitting where I could throw a rock or shoot my gun at it, there is a fucking... And the way he said flying saucer, which is fucking hilarious. But he goes, it's a fucking flying saucer. He said it's got a blue tint around it. Little portholes, but you could barely see. Quiet as can be. And he said they were all, and he said the time was weird. The time of night was weird. It was like that weird time where the sun's going down. You don't know. He said the timing of it was weird, and he said his time perception during it was something was off with the time. And he said he said, holy shit, I could fucking shoot my gun at this thing. But then he goes, then I freaked out because I don't know if this thing's reading my fucking mind. So I went inside because he thought that it might have been. So he went inside, he looked again, he went outside. They looked at it, they were stunned. And he said, like that, it turned into a dot in the sky. He said, like that, it turned into a star like that. And he says, to this day, exactly the same thing. He goes, Paul, I always used to think those people were fucking nuts. He goes, all those people, I thought they were fucking hillbillies somewhere in the Midwest just trying to get attention. He goes, I know what the fuck I saw. And he goes, and I wish I didn't see it because I still dream about it. And I know what the fuck I saw and I know it wasn't from here. That's 100% true.
What year was this?
1973.
73.
And then I Googled 1973 Yonkers and many people saw something. But it was right above them.
Look at this. Man says 1973 UFO incident turned life upside down. Mm-hmm. Wow. I'm not surprised.
No.
That thing, it probably looked just like that. That one right there.
That's what, yeah. When it's funny because when he describes it, it looks like that. Like in my mind, that's what he said it looked like. And that's what I always thought about, that right there. But he said that it was gone in, like he said he couldn't believe. He said, my mother's very like religious. So the other day we had a party and somebody... Might have actually been Giannis. He goes, I've got to find out. Can I talk? And she goes, I saw that. She goes, Giannis, I saw that. We saw that. That thing just disappeared. My father said if he had a picture in 1973 of where it was, nobody would ever had a picture like that. He goes, I've been a fucking millionaire. Yeah, he said, nobody, it was right there, he said. He said you could have maybe not thrown something, but shoot at it.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Incredible story. So close that he could hit it with a rock? Now that is a close encounter. I mean, I'm pretty sure it changed his view of life forever, especially life in the universe. And he thought about getting his gun and not his camera. I mean, just wow. It shows you that when you're in the presence of something amazing, you really don't know what to do. The story, as incredible as it might be, sounds, well, credible from somebody who's really not a UFO guy. And maybe without even him knowing, this story has a bunch of classic UFO elements when it comes to encounters, like the craft being silent, maybe a glow around the object, portholes, and a weird perception of time, which I personally theorize that it may have something to do with the anti-gravity field that the ships produce. In theory, they can distort time some. Then I love how he says that it instantly shot up into space and became a small star in the sky. How many of us have seen these little stars that all of a sudden shoot up straight into space. They move around some, and then all of a sudden they get so small that they disappear. I know of a man who's seen this, but we'll talk about him a little bit later on in the video. Because first, I wanted to share with you a picture that one of you guys sent me. It was sent in by a user named Thanos at City. A typical panoramic view of the landscape, but if we zoom in here, what do you see? Something is in the sky and it's blurred because I bet you that it's in motion. The person that took the picture said he didn't notice anything when he took the photo, but he does know that there wasn't any sort of noisy helicopter or plane around at the time. He tells me that he would have remembered that. So could this be a bird or something else flying through and not a UFO? Well, of course. But I'm going to remind you that we are on a UFO channel, so I'm going to tell you why I think this could be a saucer in motion. First is the shape. If you look at this, it looks very saucer-like in shape. It tapers on both ends, and in the middle it's got a bulbous kind of section. Next are the highlights and shadows. It seems to be catching sunlight on the right side and casting a very elliptical or maybe saucer-shaped shadow towards the bottom. And the way it captures the light, it almost looks metallic. And the last thing that caught my eye was the tilt or orientation of this object. If you follow the UFO subject like I do, you know that it's been frequently said that these craft point their belly towards where they want to go. And in this case, it does kind of seem to be the case. So let's do a little thought experiment. I'm going to drop in one of Billy Meyer's UFOs, and regardless of what you think of the guy or his story, I think we can all agree that this is what a typical saucer-shaped UFO should look like, right? So let's go ahead and make it around the size of the object in the picture. And let's give it a little bit of a blur. Then maybe change the hue of it a little bit closer to what's in the picture. And you can see that the shadows and highlights are pretty consistent. But in fairness, let's go ahead and do that with a picture of a helicopter, a bird, and a plane. And we'll follow the same steps. Make them smaller. And blur them, and you can tell that the UFO shape is really much more consistent. And also, well, let's go ahead and take into account that all these objects should be tilted. Looks kind of silly to me. So what do you guys think? Did our friend Thanos capture a disc while taking this photo? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Lastly, I really wanted to share with you this old clip which I recently caught of Muhammad Ali talking about his personal UFO experience on Carson. Notice how he's serious about what he's talking about, but everyone just laughs at him. They end up demoralizing him to the point where he wants to change the subject. Let's watch.
You seem quite reserved tonight. What?
I've been studying UFOs. Did you know there are UFOs out here flying around, unidentified objects?
This would be the place for them, Southern California.
I'm serious. They sighted a bunch over Georgia. I've seen them at night. They have real photos of them, and the government and the people just completely seem like don't talk about it. But Mr. Harold Salkin of Washington, D.C., is the head of the National UFO Bureau.
Right.
He brought me moving films. I actually have moving pictures of little saucers, of great steel objects coming into pictures that people took, and I'm just surprised that don't nobody talk more about it. Something they can...
Another great insight into the fight game. No, I'm just kidding. No, I read that. But did you read the thing last night on the news?
No.
That some physicists said that what the people of Georgia might have seen were that there are probably several thousand satellite objects going around the United States, around the Earth, and sometimes they disintegrate and they come back into space.
Not 50 feet over the highway.
Well, it could. It's got to land somewhere.
No. They call it swamp gas and something they don't want. I don't know what it is, but I think I do. But there are actual saucers and objects coming within our atmosphere and flying around, and people got pictures. Everybody cite the same thing in every city, the red and blue and green lights, but the people's authorities completely brush it off as if to say we are mentally off. But I know it's right because I've been seeing them.
Well, why don't they land then, Muhammad? I mean, if they're intelligent people, why wouldn't they land and step out and say, "Hi there," or "Galman Ding," whatever they say? You know, why wouldn't they make contact?
They probably figure they can't get no sense out of the people here in this place.
We've never talked about that on the show. I didn't know you really believed in
I have
UFOs.
actual photos. I have moving films.
Yeah, but can't they motion picture
This
film,
is
and you're
no
smart
trick.
enough to know that in still pictures they can phony those up.
These are not phony.
Ken, how do you feel about it? believe they're flying saucers?
I'm an innocent bystander.
But you've seen them.
And the night, the one you can see on Tuesdays and Thursdays is like a big bright star if you go out.
Tuesdays and
It's
Thursdays.
like a big bright star.
Are you sure you're up for this fight?
I'm serious.
If you're thinking about that when Monday night comes, he's going to knock your head off.
No, I'm serious.
You're going to say it's 10 o'clock. You look like he's going to give you such a shot.
No, it's not 10 o'clock. It's 4 and 5 in the morning.
4 and 5 in the morning. Oh.
Seriously, it's like a big bright star, and you see it moving, and it'll go up and disappear and get real small like a pinhead, and then it'll come back, and it'll shake, and then it might go over here, and it'll go over here. Seriously. I'm serious. I'm not.
Well, I know you're serious in your belief. I don't happen to believe in it myself.
This is anybody who's got eyes is belief.
Well, you can see a lot of things, but that doesn't always make them objects from other planets.
Much of that. What about the fight?
Well, yeah, what about the fight?
I mean, I find it incredible to see how somebody like Ali, one of history's strongest-willed characters, is broken by just the ridicule of the subject. And this is a classic example of why this subject is so taboo. But I do want to note his story. A bright light in the middle of the night, making strange movements, then shooting straight up into space. And he said it happened around 3 or 4 in the morning on certain days, and you could say that maybe it's a satellite that passes during that time, but the way he illustrates the movement of this object kills the theory of it being a satellite to me. Simply incredible, and I know some of you guys have seen the same type of thing, which I would love to hear about. So please leave your stories in the comments down below or email me directly, and we'll have a conversation about it in private. So that'll do it for this time. Thanks a lot for watching as always. This is Jesse. Please subscribe and share this content with like-minded individuals. And as always, keep your eyes to the sky and an open mind, because we love the UFOs. Till next time.